Today is the Community Zoning Information Meeting, October 6th, happening at 6 p.m. We want to thank you. Please refrain from talking unless you are speaking. Please be respectful. Please keep your questions and comments relevant to tonight's topic. Please wait for the presenter to finish before asking your questions and stating your comments, and any follow-up questions can be sent to the email address that's presented, which is also the planning email address. Some important dates: we have the rezoning and special use permit. So the public participation plan report will be due November 7th. The planning commission hearing will be November 10th. And then the mayor and council public hearing will be December 9th. Remember, you are required to meet each one of these deadlines and attend each meeting. For your public participation report, we have an example on the left-hand side of the bottom of the screen is an example of that postcard. You can send it via postcard or you can do stuffed envelopes. Either one is a preference to the applicant. Please remember to have the example of that postcard or that type of mailing that you're going to be sending out sent to the planning email. That way a planner can just double check to make sure all the information is on the postcard. And we're more than happy to also send you an example. On the right-hand side of the screen, you have the public participation report, which is Form E, so that was also included in your application. That report will be due November 7th. Again, some important dates. Again, today is the Community Zoning Information Meeting. Next, you'll have the public notification and signing posting deadline, which will be October 28th. You will come to the City of South Fulton and pick up your sign to post on your property. And you also have to have your sign affidavit notarized as well. Next, you have the public participation report. That will be November 7th. Again, we just mentioned some of those requirements. And then your planning commission hearing will be November 19th. Your mayor and public hearing date will again be December 9th. The first applicant we have is at 120 Kangwood Court, requesting a special use permit to allow for a group residence for children in CUP. And the overlay district is Old National Highway, located in District 6. And then you have the remote to start your presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Early Rockette. I'm requesting a special use permit for an existing residence at 120 Canewood Court East. This permit is to establish the Second Chance Maternity Home on that property that's located there. There's no additional changes or anything that needs to occur. What the project contains or entails is there'll be 4 to 6 young women who are pregnant or parenting between the ages of 13 and 18, living in the residence with supervision by trained staff to support them within the community. This is the site plan, just a layout of the property with the existing house as it sits on Canewood Court East. This is also just an additional photograph of the existing property, plot graph showing the property itself, how it's situated, and where it sits within that community around that Canewood Court circle. This shows the exterior of the residence and includes some information about the property. The home itself is about 2,300 plus square feet. It sits on 0.79 acres of land. There's currently 6 finished bedrooms within the home, 2 full baths and a half bath, a laundry room, central air, natural gas. There's also an enclosed 2-car garage, and all of those are existing, and nothing new will be added to the property. And as you can see on the left, there is the front exterior of the house, and then the rear exterior of the house and the driveway leading into the residence. This is just a sketch of the first floor. There are 3 floors in the property or on the property, and also the dimensions of all of the rooms if anyone's interested or wanted to know about the various rooms. This is the first floor sketch, the second floor sketch, and then the basement has 2 finished bedrooms there and an unfinished kind of utility room. Just some additional photos on the first floor. As I indicated, there's an attached 2-car garage that's enclosed. There's a half bath. There's a living room as well as a family room. There's a dining room, and the kitchen and laundry room are also on the first floor. On the second floor, there are 4 bedrooms on the second floor and 2 full baths on that floor. Those units or bedrooms on that second floor are fairly large. However, the intent is that with 4 to 5 residents, we would only have 1 resident in each room. And this is the basement. The top is the unfinished portion of the basement. Has a hot water heater and some other things there. Eventually, probably down the road, may make that into a theater room for the kids. And then the 2 bedrooms that are in the basement area. One of those bedrooms has a door. The second bedroom has a door that leads to the exterior of the property. This is just a larger view because the original photos seem to be fairly small, but a larger view of the family room, which leads out to a second floor deck in the kitchen. Just a larger view, a clear view of how it actually looks. This is exterior photos of the backyard, kind of where the deck sits at, and then the trees and the surrounding area that's near the back portion of the property. There are some trees that we will be moving out. They're dead, so we'll get that taken care of before we start anything at that property. And I think that's the last slide. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now open it up. If anyone has any questions or would like to express any concerns, please step to the mic and state your name. Alrighty, staff, do you have any questions?
Will there be services offered for the mothers?
There will be trainings that'll be offered for the mothers. There'll be parenting classes, as well as we'll be doing some vocational training or trying to get them into classes where they can have vocational training. These young women will be a part of the state foster care system, and they have resources that they can utilize not only while they're there, but also once they leave the home. They have some educational benefits that they can utilize. The plan is we want to prepare them to be able to function in the community once they leave the home and not leave the home and not have those skills.
Absolutely. Will some of those services be offered on site or off site?
They'll probably be offered off-site right now, but it's just starting up.
Thank you. Alrighty, we'll move to the next applicant at 0 Campbellton Fairburn Road, requesting a rezone from AG1 to C2 and a special use permit to operate a convenience store with fuel pumps. Also, a future land use amendment to change the character area from rural neighborhood to community work live is also requested, located in District 4.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andre Washington. I am counsel for MK Energy. Happy to be here, honored to be here and back in South Fulton to present this application for a rezoning of an approximately 3.61 acre parcel of land located along Campbellton Fairburn Road. As you can see, the property is perfectly rectangular and along a minor arterial highway. It's just across the street from a public storage facility. The parcel is currently undeveloped, meaning that there's nothing there, as far as I know, except for the tree the trees, and just down the road there is some commercial development. A unique feature of this property is that it sits along what is a border for the city of South Wilton and a gateway into the Cedar Grove Overlay District. So as you can know, as you might notice from this PowerPoint, that gray area is actually another jurisdiction. Every area that's colored is the city of South Fulton. So from our perspective, this provides an opportunity to provide a transitional um, property that, yes, has a C-store and yes, has fuel pumps, but also has other complementary commercial uses for a largely residential area. The site will have approximately 12,600 square feet of space for commercial space, split amongst 5 tenant properties. Obviously, the C-store will be the anchor, given that's the nature of our business, but there will be other complementary uses for the complementary uses. Important to note about this particular site that isn't reflected in this site plan is Cedar Grove overlay. The district has certain architectural standards that are expected in terms of stack stone and setbacks and landscaping. And our goal is to develop a commercial property that fits within that overlay district. So it's not just a gas station. The goal is to develop a neighborhood serving type a commercial set of uses. One of the things I want to note here about this particular conversation is that I've seen some of the discussions about C-stores and gas stations and the concerns here in South Fulton. So I hope that I get an opportunity to hear about what those concerns are specific to this site, but also and relatedly, to the extent that we're fortunate enough to get an opportunity to develop here, what type of commercial uses would the community like to see? You know, I've talked to the sitting city council person, and he has expressed a lot of a desire for not just here, but just generally making sure that there are complementary retail and commercial uses in the area. That is a concern, seems to be for the residents. The question for me is what type of tenants do we need to be bringing in? What type of development do we need to have? So I'm happy to pause at this point to say, uh-oh. Happy to pause at this point to point out a couple of distinctions. I don't know what's going on in the PowerPoint. Important to note is we want to hear from the community. We want to hear from you guys about what those things are that are important, how we might need to amend our plan, what that might look like. And so with that, I'll pause for any questions you might have.
Thank you. We'll open it up to the public now. Again, if you have any questions or concern, please step to the mic and state your name. We'll turn it over to staff. If you have any questions, please state your question to the applicant. I have a question. How close is the nearest gas station?
I believe there's a Chevron that is within the 3 mile radius. I don't know the exact radius.
Okay. Are you aware of some of our, okay, in the code? Okay.
Yes, so I am aware of. So it's a very good point. Back when the city of South Fulton was developing, before I became an attorney, I did politics and was on the front end of when there was a city movement. And one of the things that I know was important was control of zoning, right? And making sure that the city of South Fulton did become essentially a dumping ground for undesirable developments and overwhelmed with gas stations as people were moving in and out of the city. And so I think that that's the origin of that 3 mile radius concern. The challenge, though, is for efficiency's sake, not even for an economic sake for us as developers, but for efficiency's sake, it limits the amount of development that can happen in the city with the unique dimensions that we have, especially considering a spot like this where you're right across the street from Union City, you're on a minor arterial highway, you're along or just down the road from a major arterial highway. I think what I've seen and I've done residential and commercial development, is that communities aren't so much anti-gas stations or as much they're anti-bad developments that aren't maintained and aren't kept and overwhelm their neighborhood. If it is a nice looking, high quality commercial development, it tends to be well used and agreeable. But I think people are protective of, just folks putting any old thing up near their homes, their biggest investments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie McClendon, Managing Director of the Community Development and Regulatory Affairs Department. I appreciate your presentation. I certainly appreciate your attention to our overlay district requirements, as well as our the other requirements in our zoning code. I do have a couple of questions for you. One, she asked about proximity to other gas stations. Can you talk about proximity to residential uses? And that's the first question. The second question is, can you tell us, can you give us an idea of the dimensions of the C-store and the associate uses?
Sure. That's a great question from a Morehouse man. Uh, a little attention to detail there. A couple different things. So AG1, as we all know, is considered residential. So that entire triangle where it's considered AG1 is technically residential. And so the nearest would be next door. All right. The more intense residential, the planned subdivision communities are all, again, within a certain area. And that same proposition for us makes it a great place potentially for this type of mixed commercial or commercial use that's anchored by a C-store. In terms of exact dimensions, as mentioned here, it's 12,600 square feet for the total footprint of the building. But each of the tenant applicants or tenant spaces will be about 1,700 to 1,800 square feet. But given the shape and the size of the building, that can potentially be, played with in terms of whether or not we do. Right now, it contemplates 5. If that changes or could change for one reason or the next, that's important. But I emphasize, listening to the community in part because it's one thing to say that we just kind of got a space for attendance. Another thing to hear from the community, hey, we'd like that to be a juice bar, or we'd like that to be, we don't have a relationship with them that I know of, but like an Arden's Garden or something like that. Like, we want this type of use. It helps me go back to my client and say, hey, if you got one, you're going to comply with the Cedar Grove development, right? 2, here are the type of applicants that you need to have. And, to the extent that we need to work out conditions, here are the people that aren't allowed to have tenant space here. We don't want a vape shop, or we don't want this, that, and the third. Like, those are things that all come along with the discussions that we hope to have in the coming days and weeks.
We have those discussions. We have those answers of what you do want, don't want by the planning commission.
That's a really good question. Our desire is to use the community meetings as a forum to have that conversation, and quite frankly, tonight to see what those things are. We've already kind of gotten an idea that we want to do some more of coffee shop type uses, but one of the worst things you can do with a development, in my opinion, that has a bunch of big question marks, come in and say we're gonna put this in your community, and come in with a meeting like this, or a planning commission meeting, maybe less planning commission, but certainly the community meetings, and say this is what we're going to do for y'all without ever having a conversation about what the desire might be. So we have an open mind. I think that as a general matter, we are agreeable to the kind of persona non grata uses that generally end up on no-go lists, right? So we aren't considering those and saying, hey, we want the ability to do those things that are generally speaking undesirable. But the most important thing is to come in with an open set of ears to the community. Yes. So yes, I will have more, hopefully more clear answers by the planning commission meeting. My hope is that we get good participation from the community, at which point in time, we remain open. So
Thank you. Will you all also have like renderings of the development presented?
that's a really good question. So my client was working on those today, getting some renderings, and so we are not your typical developer in the sense that we have a bunch of the 3D printings, but we're working on getting some of those renderings out and ready for them. So by the planning commission, there should be certainly more detailed report than what we have now, with additional renderings and additional kind of layouts of lists of things that we want to do. So hopefully each step gets a little bit more clear.
Okay, thank you. Before we move into the rest of the meeting, if you guys do want to mention when you're hosting your public participation meeting, the location, the time, and the date.
So we're currently in the process of scheduling ours. We had our schedule for the 29th, but we didn't get the addresses until a couple days before. There was a bit of a miscommunication. So we are setting up location, and that'll be updated within the next 48 to 72 hours.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
We'll be having our meeting October 29th, and it will be at 120 Canewood Court.
Thank you. I do also want to note that we did have a case on the agenda, Zero Valley. So that case has been moved to the next CZIM meeting, which will be November 3rd at 6 p.m. at this location. So I do apologize, but that case will be moved to the next meeting. Again, just to talk about some of those important dates, your public participation report is due November 7th. So that means we need to see the proof of those mailings that got sent out. We need that public participation Form E form filled out and sent to us. And then for your planning commission hearing, that date will be November 19th. Mayor and council, and that public hearing will be December 9th. Again, talking a little bit more about that public participation part, please, before you mail out anything, please make sure you send it to planning staff so we can just double check to make sure everything is on that. That includes your case number, your address. You should have 3 meeting dates. That will be your public participation meeting that you're hosting, planning commission, and then your mayor and council date will all be on that with a description of your project. And then again, Form E, that has to be filled out completely with, again, proof of attendance. So that can be pictures, a sign-in sheet, and also proof that those mailers got out. Is this a new piece? Again, this is just a snapshot of the schedule. So you have checked off today's meeting for the community zoning information meeting. And then again, you have that public notification and sign posting. That will be the next task. Again, staff will send an email to you to let you know when that sign is ready to be picked up. And you should have already received your addresses. If not, please let staff know that you haven't received yours just yet. But again, you should have your addresses already for that 1 mile radius so you can start to send out those invitations. Thank you again for attending the CZIM meeting.